My boss called me useless trash in front of the whole office because I wouldn't sleep with him. My name is Celine Park, and he thought firing me was the end of my story. It was only the beginning of his downfall. It happened on a Wednesday morning. I'd just finished presenting our quarterly marketing strategy, a campaign I'd built from scratch that had increased client engagement by 43%. The numbers were undeniable. The strategy was solid. Travis Harmon, our chief marketing officer, waited until I sat down. Then he stood up, walked to the front of the conference room, and smiled that shark smile I'd learned to fear. Nice presentation, Celine. Real cute. But let's be honest, you're not executive material. You're barely competent. The room went silent. 12 colleagues stared at their laptops or the table. Nobody met my eyes. I've decided we're restructuring the department. Your position is being eliminated effective immediately. Travis, my performance reviews have been excellent. This isn't about performance. It's about fit. You don't fit here anymore. What he meant was, you rejected me. Now you pay. 3 nights ago, he cornered me at a company dinner. Whispered what he wanted. What I could gain if I played along. I'd walked away. Now I was jobless. I didn't go quietly. I filed an HR complaint the same day, documenting everything. The dinner. His comments. The sudden termination without cause. The HR director, Valerie Cross, listened with a carefully neutral expression. Took notes. Promised a thorough investigation. These are serious allegations, Celine. We take them very seriously. 2 weeks later, she called me back. After a comprehensive review, we found no evidence supporting your claims. Mr. Harmon has an impeccable record. Multiple witnesses confirm the termination was performance-based. That's a lie. My reviews. Your most recent review, conducted last week by Mr. Harmon, shows significant performance issues. He wrote that after I filed the complaint. Ms. Park, I understand you're upset about the termination. But making false accusations is serious. I'd advise you to accept your severance package and move forward. The severance was 2 weeks' pay, contingent on signing an NDA and waiving my right to sue. I didn't sign. I walked out knowing that HR wasn't there to protect employees. They protected the company. And Travis controlled the company. I was alone. No job. No allies. No way to fight someone with his power and connections. Or so I thought. I applied to 47 jobs in 3 weeks. Marketing director. Senior manager. Even mid-level positions I was overqualified for. I had 8 years of experience, stellar portfolio work, and proven results. Not a single callback. Finally, a recruiter I'd worked with before called me privately. Celine, I need to tell you something. Off the record. What? I placed your resume with 3 companies last week. All 3 rejected you without interviews. When I pushed for feedback, one hiring manager said you'd been flagged as difficult to work with and potentially unstable. By who? They wouldn't say. But Celine, it's coming from somewhere. Someone's actively tanking your applications. Travis, he wasn't just content firing me. He was ensuring I couldn't work anywhere else. What do? I honestly don't know. This kind of blacklisting is nearly impossible to prove or fight. I'm sorry. I hung up and stared at my laptop. $3,000 left in savings. Rent due in 2 weeks. Student loans piling up. My mother living on a fixed income. I couldn't ask her for help. I'd worked so hard to get here. Scholarships. Night classes. Years of proving I belonged in rooms that didn't want me. And one man with wounded ego had erased it all. I hadn't always dreamed of corporate success. Growing up, I just wanted stability. My mother cleaned houses for wealthy families while I did homework at their kitchen tables. She'd work 12-hour days, come home exhausted, and still help me with math. Education is the only way out, she'd say. You're going to have opportunities one never did. I'd gotten scholarships to State University, worked 3 part-time jobs, graduated with honors, landed an entry-level marketing position, and climbed methodically. Every promotion felt like validation, proof that hard work mattered more than privilege. 5 years ago, I'd finally been able to rent my mother a better apartment, send her money monthly, let her cut back on cleaning jobs. She was 62 and finally had breathing room. I'm so proud of you, Mija, she cried. You did it. You made it. Now, Sitting in my apartment with rejection emails piling up, I felt like I'd failed her. Failed myself. Failed everyone who'd believed I could break the cycle of poverty through talent and persistence. Travis had taken more than my job. He'd taken my proof that the system could work if you were good enough. I needed to show my mother, and myself, that we hadn't been wrong to believe in merit. I took a temp job at a call center. $22 an hour. No benefits. No future. Just enough to keep paying rent while I figured out what came next. My coworkers were nice. Other people treading water, waiting for something better. Nobody asked about my past. We just logged calls, hit quotas, collected paychecks. It was soul-crushing. I'd built campaigns that reached millions. Now I was reading scripts to people who immediately hung up. My landlord, Mrs. Kim, stopped me in the hallway one evening. "Celine, the rent is late." "I know. I'm sorry. I have it. I just need 2 more days until my check clears." She looked at me with concern. "You've never been late before. Is everything okay?" "I lost my job. I'm working on getting back on track." "I'm sorry to hear that, but I need the rent by Friday, or I'll have to start the eviction process." Building policy. 3 days to come up with $1,200 I didn't have. I nodded numbly. "I understand." That night, I broke down completely. Called my mother. Cried so hard I couldn't speak for 5 minutes. "What happened?" she asked, voice full of worry. I told her everything. Travis. The firing. The blacklisting. The desperate scramble just to survive. "Come home, Mija. You can stay with me." "Mama, I can't." "You can. We'll figure it out together. You're not alone." But I felt alone. Completely, devastatingly alone. A text came from an unknown number 3 days later. "It's Nina from the office. Can we meet? I have information you need to see." Nina Torres had been Travis's assistant. Quiet. Efficient. Someone I'd barely spoken to beyond pleasantries. Why would she reach out now? We met at a coffee shop across town. She looked nervous, kept glancing around like someone might be watching. "Thank you for meeting me," she said quietly. "I needed to show you something, but I couldn't risk doing it anywhere near the office." She pulled out her phone, showed me screenshots, emails, text messages, all from Travis's account. Messages to HR about performance issues with my work, all dated after I'd rejected him. Emails to industry contacts asking them not to hire me because I was unstable and vindictive. Texts to other executives joking about getting rid of the ice queen who thinks she's too good. "There's more," Nina said. "I've been his assistant for 4 years. You're the 3rd woman he's done this to. 1 quit before he could fire her. 1 took the severance and disappeared. You're the 1st one who fought back. Why are you showing me this?" "Because I'm tired of watching him destroy women's careers when they won't sleep with him. Because I have a daughter, and I want her to grow up in a world where this doesn't happen. Because somebody needs to stop him. He'll fire you if he finds out." "I know, but some things matter more than keeping a job." That night, I created an anonymous blog. Called it The Useless One, reclaiming the words Travis had used to humiliate me. I wrote my story. No names. No company identification. Just facts. A powerful executive who used his position to coerce women. Who destroyed careers when rejected. Who controlled HR to protect himself. I included screenshots Nina had given me, with identifying information redacted. Enough to show the pattern without exposing anyone. I posted it at midnight, shared it on a few anonymous social media accounts. Went to sleep not expecting anything. By morning, it had been shared 3,000 times. Comments flooded in. Women recognizing their own experiences. Men expressing shock and disgust. People demanding to know which company, which executive. I posted again the next day. More details about the system that protected men like Travis. How HR investigations got buried. How witnesses stayed silent out of fear. 10,000 shares. Then 20,000. By the end of the week, The Useless One had 50,000 followers. News outlets were trying to identify me. Employment lawyers were offering pro bono services if I'd come forward. And more importantly, more women started sharing their stories. Different companies. Different men. But the same pattern: rejection, retaliation, career destruction. We weren't alone. We were legion. The fourth post changed everything. I opened submissions for other women to share their stories through my platform, anonymously if they wanted, or with their names if they felt safe. Within 48 hours, I'd received 200 stories. 50 were from my company. 7 were specifically about Travis. I verified what I could, cross-referenced dates, confirmed people had actually worked where they claimed, built credibility carefully. Then I published a compilation post. The pattern: one company, multiple predators, systematic cover-up. I didn't name the company, but I included enough details, industry, size, location, that insiders would know. The stories were heartbreaking. A 22-year-old intern who'd quit after Travis pressured her repeatedly. A senior executive who'd been demoted after rejecting a VP's advances. A contractor who'd been blacklisted across the entire industry. One woman had been 19 when Travis hired her. She wrote, "He told me I was special, that he could help my career. Then he made it clear what that help would cost. When I said no, I was fired within a month. I left the industry entirely. I'm 31 now, and I still have nightmares." The post went viral. 1 million views in 24 hours. Media outlets started calling it the reckoning. Activists amplified it. Lawyers offered to help build a class action case. And somewhere, Travis was starting to realize his world was crumbling. The news coverage was relentless. Anonymous blog exposes sexual harassment at major marketing firm. Dozens of women share stories of retaliation and career destruction. Reporters tried to identify my company through details I'd shared. Some got close. None confirmed it publicly yet. But the pressure was building. Stock prices were dropping for several major firms as investors worried about liability exposure. Companies were issuing statements about their commitment to safe workplaces. My company, Harmon's company, stayed silent. For 3 days, they said nothing. Then Travis made his move. He went on a popular business podcast, defended himself without being asked, positioned himself as a victim of false accusations. "This whole anonymous blog thing is dangerous," he said smoothly. "Anyone can make claims without evidence. I've built my career on integrity. This is a witch hunt by people who can't succeed through merit." He specifically called out the useless one. Said it was probably written by a disgruntled former employee who couldn't cut it. Some people blame others for their own failures. That's human nature. But we can't destroy careers based on anonymous accusations. The host pushed back mildly, but Travis deflected every question. He was good, practiced, believable. Comments on the podcast were split. Some supported him. Others saw through the performance. I knew words wouldn't be enough. I needed proof. I'd been careful. Everything I'd posted was true, but I'd held back the most damaging evidence, waiting for the right moment. That moment was now. I posted a new update. Voice recordings. Trigger warning. Explicit content. The man claiming these accusations are false. His own words. I uploaded audio files. Nina had recorded Travis during 2 separate incidents when he'd made comments about female employees. She'd been taking notes in meetings and captured him describing women in our department in explicitly sexual terms, discussing which ones he'd have a shot with, laughing about the ones who'd already played along. The clips were short, 20 seconds each, but devastating. In one, he clearly said my name. "Celine thinks she's too good for me. We'll see how employable she is once I'm done." The recordings went viral within hours. 6 million views. Media organizations verified their authenticity. Legal experts confirmed they could be used as evidence. Travis's lawyer released a statement. These recordings were obtained illegally and taken out of context. But context didn't matter. His own words had condemned him. Nobody who heard those clips could claim the accusations were fabricated. By evening, the board of directors had announced an emergency meeting. Travis was placed on temporary administrative leave. It wasn't justice yet, but it was progress. The floodgates opened. With Travis's voice recordings public, people who'd been afraid finally felt safe speaking up. Current employees started leaking information. Not to me, to media outlets, to lawyers, to regulatory agencies. Dozens of NDAs appeared online, showing the company had been paying women to stay silent for years. Financial reporters started digging into company records. discovered Travis had been authorizing unusually large consulting fees to shell companies connected to people who'd filed HR complaints. He'd been buying silence with company money, committing fraud to cover up sexual harassment. A former VP came forward publicly, gave a televised interview with her face shown, using her real name. Travis Harmon assaulted me at a company retreat 3 years ago. The company paid me $200,000 to sign an NDA and resign quietly. I'm violating that NDA now because I can't stay silent anymore. She was the first. By the end of the week, 6 more women had spoken publicly. One of them had been a teenage intern. Federal investigators announced they were reviewing the company for potential violations of employment law and financial regulations. The company's biggest clients started terminating contracts. Nobody wanted to be associated with the scandal. And Travis, he deactivated all his social media, hired a crisis management firm, disappeared from public view. But the damage was done. While Travis was hiding, I was building. An anonymous email address allowed people to reach out safely. I received hundreds of messages, some from women sharing their stories, others from whistleblowers inside the company. One message changed everything. I work in finance. I have documents showing systematic misuse of company funds to silence harassment victims. HR was complicit. They've been shredding records. I can get you proof. We arranged a secure exchange. The whistleblower, a senior accountant named Paolo, sent me encrypted files, spreadsheets, bank statements, emails between Travis, HR, and the legal department. They showed a pattern going back 8 years. 53 separate payments to former employees. Total, $12 million. All classified as consulting fees or contractor payments. All in exchange for NDAs. The company had built an entire infrastructure to hide sexual harassment. I shared the documents with an investigative journalist at a major newspaper. She verified everything with forensic accountants and other sources. The story ran on the front page. Marketing giants spent millions covering up sexual harassment. The article named Travis, named the company, named the HR director and general counsel who'd facilitated the cover-up. By noon, the stock had dropped 30%. By evening, 3 board members had resigned. By the next morning, employees were staging a walkout demanding Travis's permanent removal. Justice was accelerating, and I was just getting started. A lawyer specializing in employment discrimination contacted me through my blog. I want to help. Pro bono. We can build something bigger than just your case. Her name was Carmen Reyes. She'd spent 20 years fighting workplace harassment and had a reputation for winning impossible cases. I've been following your blog since day one, she said when we met. You've done something extraordinary, created a movement. Now let's turn it into systemic change. Together, we started organizing. Contacted every woman who'd come forward, built a network of survivors willing to participate in a class action lawsuit. The journalist who'd broken the financial story joined us. Her investigative work had uncovered even more: bribes to industry contacts to blacklist certain women, manipulation of performance reviews, destruction of evidence. This isn't just Travis, Carmen explained. It's the entire executive team. The board knew. HR knew. They all participated in the cover-up. We filed a lawsuit naming 23 defendants. Travis, the company, HR executives, board members who'd ignored complaints. We requested access to all internal documents, all financial records, all communications. The lawsuit made national news. Employment rights organizations rallied behind it. Activists held protests outside the company headquarters. From the useless one to legal warrior, one headline read, but I still hadn't revealed my identity. I was Jane Doe number 1. Protected. Anonymous. Safe from direct retaliation. That was about to change. The blog had become a resource center. Not just my story anymore, but a hub for survivors everywhere. I posted guides on documenting harassment, listed lawyers who'd help, shared support resources. The private email received 300 messages a day. I read every one. Responded when I could, connected people with help when they needed it. One message stopped me cold. I was 16 when I interned at your company. Travis told me I was mature for my age. I thought he was being nice. Then he invited me to dinner. Said it was about my career. I was too young to understand what was happening. When I finally realized and said no, he fired me 3 days later. I'm 24 now and still dealing with trauma. A minor. He'd harassed a minor. I forwarded the message to Carmen immediately. This changes everything. Federal crime. Get her consent to share it. If she's willing to come forward, we can add criminal charges. The woman agreed. She'd been silent for 8 years, ashamed and scared. Now she wanted justice. Carmen contacted the FBI. They opened a criminal investigation into Travis's conduct with the teenage intern and whether the company had failed to report the incident properly. This wasn't just employment law anymore. This was potential criminal prosecution. Travis's nightmare was just beginning. A private equity investor named Diana Park reached out through my lawyer. She owned 20% of the company through her fund. She'd been trying to push for better governance for years. I've watched this company spiral for too long, she said. I want Travis gone. The entire leadership needs to go. But I need ammunition for the next board vote. What do you need? Everything you have. I'll use it to force a leadership change. But I need to know, are you planning to reveal your identity? I don't know. If you do, I'll back you. Publicly. Financially. Whatever you need. You've built credibility. People trust the useless one. If you step forward, we can change everything. She was offering support, but also applying pressure. I had power now. She wanted me to use it. The board meets in 2 weeks, Diana continued. I'm pushing for a vote to remove Travis and 5 other executives. I have enough support to win if public pressure stays strong. What do you need me to do? Keep doing what you're doing. Keep the story alive. When the time is right, consider stepping forward. Your face and name will seal this. After she left, I sat with the decision. Anonymity had protected me, but it also limited my power. How much was I willing to risk for justice? Diana moved quickly. She called an emergency board meeting citing fiduciary duty and reputational damage, demanded a review of Travis's position and the company's handling of harassment allegations. The board tried to resist. Travis still had allies, people who'd benefited from the old system, who feared exposure if everything came to light. But Diana was strategic. She leaked to media that she was pushing for Travis's removal. That created a news cycle questioning why the board would keep a CEO under federal investigation. Activist investors joined her cause. Pension funds that held company stock demanded accountability. Employee groups circulated petitions. The pressure mounted. The company's stock continued dropping. Major clients kept leaving. Lawsuits piled up. 3 days before the board vote, the company's PR firm released a statement. The board is conducting a comprehensive review of leadership and governance practices. We're committed to creating a safe, equitable workplace. Translation, we're panicking and trying to save the company. I posted a response on the blog. Words mean nothing without action. We want Travis fired. We want systemic change. We want survivors compensated fairly. Nothing less is acceptable. It was shared 50,000 times in an hour. Diana called me that evening. You've given me everything I need. Whatever happens at the vote, you've already won. But I didn't feel like I'd won. Not yet. Not until Travis faced real consequences. I'd been anonymous for 3 months. Built a movement without showing my face. But I realized Diana was right. Stepping forward would give the story human dimension. Make it impossible to dismiss. I created a video. Sat in front of my laptop camera. Wore a mask. Disguised my voice. My name is the useless one. For 3 months, I've been sharing stories of workplace harassment and retaliation. It's time you knew mine. I outlined my history with Travis. The rejection. The firing. The blacklisting. I explained how my blog had started as a way to process trauma and became a movement. I stayed anonymous because I was afraid. Afraid of more retaliation. More damage to my career. More pain. But I've realized something. I'm not the one who should be afraid. The men who abuse power should be afraid. The systems that protect them should be afraid. I talked about the dozens of women who'd come forward, the evidence we'd gathered, the lawsuit we'd filed, the criminal investigation. This isn't just about one man or one company. It's about every workplace where women are punished for saying no, where careers are destroyed to protect egos, where power corrupts without consequence. I ended with a promise. I will reveal my identity soon. Not because I owe anyone my name, but because survivors deserve to be seen. And perpetrators deserve to see exactly who they couldn't break. The video went viral instantly. 5 million views in 24 hours. Media outlets analyzed every word. People tried to identify me through my voice and background. My phone rang with Carmen's number. "Are you ready for what comes next?" "Yes," I said. "I'm done hiding." The next day, I posted my face, my name, my full story with details I'd previously obscured. I revealed the company, named Travis explicitly, provided context that made everything undeniable. "My name is Celine Park. Travis Harmon called me useless trash and destroyed my career because I wouldn't sleep with him. This is my story." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, my identity was everywhere. News organizations requested interviews. My social media exploded with messages, both supportive and vicious. Some people called me brave. Others called me an opportunist. Men's rights groups attacked me as a liar seeking attention. Trolls sent threats and harassment. But survivors thanked me, said I'd given them courage, that seeing my face made them feel less alone. Carmen called. "Are you okay? This is going to be intense." "I'm okay. Actually, I feel lighter. Like I'm finally taking back control." "Good. Because every major news network wants you. We need to be strategic about who you talk to first." We chose a respected journalist known for covering workplace rights issues. The interview would air on national television, timed just before the board vote. For 3 days, I prepared, practiced telling my story clearly, anticipated hostile questions, built emotional armor for the scrutiny coming. The night before the interview, my mother called. "I'm so proud of you, Mija. So proud. I'm scared, Mama. I know. But you're not alone. The whole world is watching. And they'll see exactly who you are. Strong, brave, honest. They'll see the truth." The interview aired on a Sunday evening. 42 million people watched live. Another 60 million viewed clips online afterward. The journalist was thorough but fair. She asked about my decision to come forward, about the blog, about the evidence we'd gathered, about what I wanted to see happen. I want Travis Harmon held accountable. Not just fired, I want him to face legal consequences. I want the company to admit what they did and compensate every survivor fairly. And I want systemic change so this never happens again. Some people claim this is a witch hunt, that you're destroying a man's career over a personal grievance. I'm not destroying anything. I'm revealing what he built, a system where powerful men could harass women without consequence, where careers mattered less than egos. That system destroyed itself. I'm just making sure everyone sees what was always there. The journalist showed the voice recordings, played them on national television. Travis's words condemning him in his own voice. She interviewed other survivors who'd agreed to speak publicly. Their faces, their names, their pain on full display. By the end of the hour, the narrative was clear. This wasn't about one disgruntled employee. This was about institutional failure and predatory behavior enabled by corporate structures. My name trended for 3 days. People debated, argued, analyzed. But the tide had turned permanently. Public opinion had solidified against Travis. The board met 2 days after the interview. Diana had the votes. The outcome was decided before the meeting even started. But they still had to go through the process. Hear evidence. Allow Travis to defend himself. Follow corporate governance procedures. Travis attended remotely. Gave a statement denying everything. Claimed the recordings were manipulated. Called the accusations a coordinated attack by disgruntled former employees with an agenda. I've dedicated my career to this company. I will not let false allegations destroy what I've built. Diana presented a 40-page report documenting his misconduct, the company's cover-up, and the financial damage to the organization. She called for his immediate termination without severance. The vote was 15-3. Travis Harmon was fired, but it didn't stop there. The board also terminated the HR director, the general counsel, and 2 other executives who participated in the cover-up. They announced a complete leadership restructure. The company issued a public statement. We failed our employees. We enabled a toxic culture that prioritized protecting leadership over protecting our people. We are committed to systemic change and will compensate survivors fairly. We apologize. It wasn't enough, but it was something. Carmen called me immediately. You did it. He's gone. I cried. Not tears of joy exactly. More like release. 3 months of fighting. 3 months of fear and anger and determination. Finally, consequences. Travis being fired was just the beginning. Carmen filed additional lawsuits on behalf of 43 women. The company settled quickly. Didn't want the publicity of a trial. Total settlement, $67 million. Every survivor received compensation based on the severity of what they'd endured and the damage to their careers. My portion was substantial. Enough to never worry about rent again. Enough to help my mother retire. Enough to fund whatever came next. But the money wasn't the victory. The victory was watching Travis's world collapse completely. His professional reputation was destroyed. No company would hire him. Industry groups revoked memberships. Speaking engagements got canceled. People who'd once courted his favor now avoided him publicly. The federal investigation continued. While he avoided criminal charges related to the teenage intern, statute of limitations had passed. He faced charges for financial fraud related to misusing company funds. His marriage fell apart. His wife filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, but everyone knew what that meant. Travis went from powerful executive to cautionary tale. He thought he was untouchable. Learned too late that power built on cruelty eventually collapses. Meanwhile, I was building something new. The settlement came with strings. The company wanted me to sign a new NDA. Stay quiet about internal details. Move on privately. Carmen advised accepting it. You've won. Take the money. Live your life. But I couldn't. Accepting their money, to stay quiet felt like validating the same system I'd fought against. Like teaching other companies they could buy survivors' silence if the price was high enough. I'm rejecting the settlement, I told Carmen. Celine, that's $67 million. I know. But what's the point of fighting the system if I participate in its solution? The NDA is how they silence people. How they maintain power. I won't be part of that. What will you do instead? Build something better. I drafted a counteroffer. I'd accept a much smaller settlement, enough to cover my immediate needs, with no NDA attached. The rest of the money would fund a nonprofit I was creating to help women in toxic workplaces. The company initially refused, tried to pressure me, but public opinion was watching. Rejecting my offer would make them look terrible. They accepted. I got $2 million. The remaining $65 million went into a foundation I called Not Useless, supporting women who faced workplace retaliation, funding legal aid, and pushing for policy changes. The foundation launched with national attention. Donors contributed additional millions. It became self-sustaining within months. I'd turned Travis's cruelty into lasting change. The nonprofit grew quickly. We funded legal representation for women fighting harassment, created an anonymous reporting platform, lobbied for stronger employment protections, built a network of survivors supporting each other. 6 months after launching, I was invited to speak at major tech conferences, corporate leadership summits, university business schools. People wanted to know how I'd built a movement from nothing. It started with refusing to accept that abuse is just how things work, I'd say. With believing that justice was possible even when systems said it wasn't. With understanding that silence protects perpetrators, not victims. I became an advocate, not because I'd planned it, but because survivors kept reaching out. Because workplaces kept failing women. Because change required people willing to fight for it. My old company, they struggled, lost major clients, saw their stock value cut in half, spent years trying to rebuild their reputation. They hired a new CEO, a woman with a track record of creating healthy workplace cultures. She implemented comprehensive harassment training, created transparent reporting systems, built accountability into leadership evaluations. The changes came too late for me and dozens of others. But maybe they protect the next generation. A year after Travis's firing, federal investigators concluded their financial fraud case. He pleaded guilty to avoid trial, received 2 years in prison, and was ordered to pay restitution. I didn't attend the sentencing, didn't need to see him one more time. Carmen sent me a photo of him in court. No longer the confident executive, but a diminished man facing consequences. Justice wasn't always satisfying. Didn't always feel like enough. But it was something. Meanwhile, my life had transformed completely. I'd gone from unemployed and desperate to leading a national nonprofit. From voiceless to amplified. From victim to advocate. Companies started reaching out. Wanted me to consult on workplace culture. Review their harassment policies. Train their leadership teams. I was selective. Only worked with organizations genuinely committed to change. Turned down those who wanted to use my name for PR without doing real work. My mother watched everything with pride and amazement. I always knew you were special, Mija. But this, you've changed the world. I just refuse to stay quiet, Mama. That's all. That's everything. I drove past the building last month. The one where Travis had called me useless trash in front of everyone. Where I'd been humiliated and fired for rejecting his advances. A for lease sign hung in the window. The company had consolidated offices, moved headquarters. The building stood empty. I parked and stared at it for a long time. Remember the person I'd been walking out those doors a year ago. Broken. Scared. Uncertain about everything. That version of me wouldn't recognize who I'd become. The confidence. The purpose. The platform to help others. My phone buzzed. A message from the nonprofit's director. Another survivor reached out. Says your story gave her courage to report her boss. Thank you for showing us we're not alone. Messages like that arrived daily. From women finding their voices. From men recognizing toxic behaviors and committing to change. From organizations implementing better policies. I started the car and drove away. That empty building represented the past. What I'd built, the foundation, the movement, the proof that speaking truth mattered, that was the future. Travis had called me useless. He tried to erase me. Thought firing me would be the end. Instead, it was the beginning. Of justice. Of change. Of a legacy bigger than his cruelty. I smiled. He taught me something valuable, though he hadn't meant to. You can't destroy someone whose worth isn't defined by your opinion. I'd never been useless. I'd always been powerful. I just needed someone cruel enough to force me to prove it. And now, no one would ever question that again.